Bob is undergoing the same sort of thing I'm going with my throat here today, just getting the cobwebs out of it as we get it rolling here this morning. Brought to you by A&A Construction. Bob joining us this morning. Bob, that was a heck of a performance last night by Bubba Chandler, wasn't it?
It was outstanding. I said last night that he looked like he was in mid-season form, and that's, I think, the best way to describe it. He was right on. You can see why he is such a talent and why such big things are expected of him. He was really in charge, almost dominating, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know what the strikeout total ended up, but it was a bunch.
Yeah, he had 8 of them.
Throwing hard, real good command with the fastball. A little inconsistent maybe with his breaking ball command, but the fastball was outstanding. I thought he threw some great changeups to complement that fastball and got his pitch count up to almost 70. So, yeah, everything is right on schedule with him. He looked good. He's been a little wild, which is kind of different from what we saw last year of him. He's been a strike thrower. Wildness hasn't been a problem with him, which is kind of uncommon for a young guy that throws as hard as he does. But there was none of that last night. He couldn't have looked better as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, he was even his mannerisms out there was like really focused, in control.
It's interesting because a lot of those things that you just said were the same things said a couple of years ago about Jared Jones. He throws so hard, and yet he has great control,
Yep.
and he's got that bulldog attitude out on the mound.
Yeah, it's very similar to what you see from Jones, who, as far as I've there's that frog in my throat again. Here, let me get a little sip of tea.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, he's been throwing just fine down in the bullpen, getting his bullpen work on, and throwing real hard. So let's not forget about he's toward the end of May or so.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be inserted somewhere in that pitching staff, and so that's going to be like picking him up is going to be like a big trade in the middle of the year. So
Yeah.
we don't talk about him much anymore because he's not available right now, so it's kind of normal. But he is going to be there, and he will be with us, and it's like throwing another Bubba Chandler out there, or maybe Bubba's like throwing another Jonesy out there.
Yeah. Hey,
so it's good. Good news.
What we saw from Bubba last night really brings me to what I wanted to talk with you about today, and that is the catching situation. And Henry Davis has really developed as a defensive catcher. If we can find his bat, then it's going to be something else to watch Henry this year. But they were talking about the fact Henry called 18 straight fastballs. And you have the meetings before the game, what you want to do with your pitcher and everything, and that's informed by your pitching coach and your manager. But Henry calls all of those fastballs. 74% of what Bubba threw last night were fastballs. And I don't think that I have ever heard pitchers as a whole talking about a catcher that is as young as Henry is with the kind of respect that they have for him. He has, when he first came up, they weren't talking about his defense at all. They said it was pretty deficient, but here he is, and he's a defensive wizard behind the plate now.
One of the strangest things I've seen in my career as a player or as an announcer, and it's, going back to the 70s, late 70s, so it has been the scouting report on him when he got here to the reality could not have been different. I mean, it was like, yeah, this guy's going to be a really good hitter, but we don't know where he can play. He can't catch. We're going to put him in the outfield, right field, see how he is out there. And it's 180-degree different is what happened. He's really struggled at the plate, but as a catcher, he's outstanding. So I don't have any explanation. I don't know what's going on. I try to stay away from asking questions about it because it's different. I don't want to like poke fun at people, but it's like I want to say like, what were you guys looking at? It's like, what's going on here? This not what it happened, and so I don't know. I'm hoping that he can still find that bat in there because obviously coming through the minor leagues, he was a very good hitter.
Mm-hmm.
and was a very good hitter in the amateur and in college. So there is at least a decent bat in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own opinions on what he does wrong. I think for me, he's always just too much of a pull hitter, too much of a rotation on his swing. Everything's on his back leg. Front shoulder flies open early. When he does hit a ball hard, it's always 10 feet foul. You know what I mean? It's down that line. And if he could use the whole field, and I'm not talking about just becoming a spray hitter and hitting like this weak slicers to right or something. If he could change his approach to hitting, his mechanics, to where he could actually drive the ball hard toward right center field. Now it's easy to sit here on a couch in a hotel and say that, but to me, if he could ever get to the mechanics that allows him to do that, then he could be the hitter that's in there.
Yeah.
But and if he just continues to always be a dead pull hitter, I don't know if he's ever going to be much better than he is right now as far as a hitter.
Bob, the catching situation for the Pirates, they've got some real decisions to make there. They've got 4 major league quality catchers right now. And can Endy hold up? Is Endy a part of that picture? What do they do with Joey Bart? Is he trade bait? They've got the young guy they got over that's a really highly rated prospect. I think he came from the Yankees in the Bednar trade. This is a hard decision to make, isn't it?
Everything you just said would sound like comes right out of my mouth. I mean, I was telling somebody earlier this morning that, like, when there's cuts made, and I get asked the question, any surprises, and I almost always say no, because the only surprise cuts come at the end of spring training. If you said now, when it comes down to Indy, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
We talked about Indy.
We're losing Bob there.
Think about Connor.
Bob has faded away from us here.
Here, I'm going to move. Hold on.
Okay. All right, there he is.
Okay. There's some reason that back on the couch it doesn't work very well. I'm now by the window. Indy was a great prospect. A couple of devastating injuries the last 2 years has kind of robbed him of really what might have been. So now he's kind of fighting for a job, but that player is still there. He's got so much energy. He's got a ton of talent. He's a switch hitter. He's got a good arm. Threw a guy out trying to steal it last night easily. Yeah, that's a big question for what are they going to do with him. He's not a guy you want to sit on the bench.
No,
he's a young kid with a lot of talent. You want to play him all the time. So I don't know. That's a great question, and it's one of the biggest for me of spring training is what's going to happen in the catching situation.
It's going to be fascinating to watch how they figure that out. Hey, what was it like for you last night sitting there in the booth alongside Gene Lamont talking old Bucko baseball?
Oh, that was a lot of fun. I love Gino. When he was coaching for us, he and Tommy Sant were the two guys that, the two base coaches that, if I wanted to ask a question about, why do we do this, or, why does that guy, play that so deep in this scenario, or all these kind of baseball type things that you want to know if you're watching the game and you're kind of being a little bit of a student of the game. Those two guys, but especially Gino, I'd ask him stuff all the time, and he was great too. He was the perfect guy for Jim to have sitting there next to him, because as you need that guy that's going to tell you what he thinks and not what you want to hear. And Gino was always that guy, and very smart, great manager himself. Did a phenomenal job with the White Sox, of course, and when he was managing the Pirates, we just really didn't have the horses to do a whole lot. We find ourselves in that position, quite a bit over the last 25 years. But he's he was a great guy to have running things. He knows what he's doing.
Knows his way around a story or two, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, if you want to ask a question about a player, and it's a kind of off the record type thing, he will tell you exactly what he thinks, and even today, I'll sit next to him and say, what this guy right here, what do we got on him? What do you think? And he'll tell me, and a lot of times it's not something that I'm going to repeat out on the air, but it gives me kind of background, about what a real good baseball guy thinks this guy's going to turn out to be, and I respect his word, and so I can kind of tailor my comments a little bit to the stuff that I hear from Gino.
My goodness, that's a head full of baseball right there. You can't afford to say goodbye to stuff like that. That's why the Pirates bought him back, put him on the bench last year. That was good stuff.
And this year he's just kind of be an advisor, go around, and he'll probably go check out some of the minor league players occasionally. And those are the kind of guys you need to keep in your organization. And even if you kind of struggle to find what's going to be his title? Well, who cares? He's going to be an asset to us, and so that's where he's at now at this part of his baseball career.
Hey, Bob, it's been a great week talking with you. Bucko baseball is almost here. It's just about time to get the regular season underway, and we'll catch up with you through the course of the season, watching our Pirates and listening to them right here on WCCS. Thanks for a great week.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and I hope to see you down at the ballpark this summer.
There he is. He's Bob Walk, the Pittsburgh Pirates, brought to us today by A&A Construction. And it is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com.